There's something about rainy nights, the way the world grows quieter, the way the streets empty, the way shadows move when no one should be there. Most people find comfort in the rain, but others know what waits within it. Tonight I'll share with you 3 true terrifying stories. Each one begins on a night just like this. Storms outside, silence inside, and someone or something watching. In story 1, a father and son sit under their backyard gazebo watching a storm roll in, until they see a man with a pale face standing just beyond the trees smiling. In story 2, a man receives cryptic messages during a thunderstorm and realizes the person sending them is already inside his house. And in story 3, a late-night car accident leads to a disturbing encounter with a stranger who should have never been there, but somehow knew his name. These aren't campfire tales. They're real, told by people who still can't explain what happened, or why it happened to them. So turn off the lights, close the windows, and remember, sometimes the scariest part of the storm isn't the thunder. It's what shows up when it begins. Story 1. The Ghost in the Backyard. The Man with the Pale Face. I've always loved thunderstorms. Not in a normal way, I'm talking about the kind of love where you'll turn off all the lights just to sit by the window and watch lightning claw across the sky like angry ghosts. I guess that obsession got passed down to my 6-year-old son too. Every time it storms, he drags me out to the backyard where we sit beneath the little wooden gazebo I built with my own hands, just listening to the chaos unfold. That night was no different, or so I thought. It was late summer in Florida, hot, muggy, the kind of night where the air feels too thick to breathe. I was watching TV in the living room when I heard the first crack of thunder. A moment later, my son's voice echoed from the hallway. "Dad, the storm's here, come on." I smiled, grabbed a couple towels, and we stepped out back. The rain was already pouring by the time we reached the gazebo, soaking us to the bone. I flicked on a small heater and set up a portable TV, our usual storm ritual. The yard looked beautiful in the downpour trees, swaying water rippling through the grass, and flashes of lightning giving everything that eerie silver glow. My son was bundled in a blanket, sipping hot cocoa, grinning like this was the best night of his life. But then he stopped smiling. He leaned toward me and whispered, "Dad, someone's watching." I looked up, expecting to see a deer or maybe one of the neighbor's kids playing in the trees. But all I saw was blackness. The forest at the edge of our property was dense, too dense to see clearly without a spotlight. "Where Buddy?" He pointed straight ahead toward the tree line. I saw him, standing really still, behind that skinny tree. I squinted into the dark. Another flash of lightning lit up the yard for a split second, and that's when I saw it. A figure. Not moving, not blinking. Just standing there, half of its face obscured behind a tree trunk. What I could see of the face was pale, wet, and somehow wrong. The eye that wasn't hidden glared at us unblinking. It wasn't curious. It wasn't angry. It was cold, calculated, inside. Now I whispered. My son didn't argue. We darted through the rain, slammed the door shut, and I immediately turned on the porch lights. Floodlights lit up the yard, but the figure was gone. No footprints, no movement, just rain. I spent the next hour pacing with a baseball bat in my hand, checking windows and doors, convincing myself it was a trick of the light. Maybe just some trespasser who wandered off. I barely slept that night. The next morning I went out to inspect the yard. Nothing unusual. Until I got to the side of the house. There, beneath my son's bedroom window, muddy footprints. Clear, heavy, standing still right beneath the glass. Like someone had been there, just watching. That evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, My son came into our bedroom, pale and shaking. He was at my window, he whispered. He smiled and tapped. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the bat again and stormed outside. The backyard was silent except for the chirping of insects and the soft drip of water still falling from the trees. I turned the corner toward the side of the house, and there he was. That same face, that same eye, staring at me from the shadows. Except now. He was smiling. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a slow, joyless, stretched grin, one side higher than the other, like a mask melting off his face. I sprinted toward him, but before I could even round the tree, he was gone. No sound, no rustle, just gone. I called the police that night. They searched the yard, checked the woods, but found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no camera footage. And because nothing had been taken or damaged, there wasn't much they could do. They told me it was probably a local, maybe someone passing through. But deep down, I knew better. What came after? The next few nights were quiet. No footprints, no knocks. But my son couldn't sleep alone anymore. Every time the wind picked up, he'd jolt upright, staring at the window. He started drawing that pale face, over and over. In the corner of papers on napkins, even in the condensation on mirrors. And sometimes at night, when the lightning flashes just right, I still see something move at the edge of the forest. Something that doesn't belong. If you've ever felt like you're being watched in your own backyard, if you've ever seen a face at the window when no one should be there, you're not alone. And sometimes, those things don't just disappear. Sometimes they wait, just beyond the trees. Story 2. Mysterious Messages and the Stalker. A rainy night, a hidden face, and a message that still haunts me. I live in a pretty quiet neighborhood, the kind where people leave their porch lights on just to say I see you to the night. The kind of place that rarely gets rain and even more rarely gets mystery. That night we got both. It started like any other. I was home alone, the sky outside gray and humming. A rare storm had rolled in from the coast, lightning flashing in the distance like silent bombs. I was at my desk playing online with a few friends when I heard the first loud clap of thunder. That's when my screen flickered. A brief static buzz, then everything returned to normal. I shrugged it off, but something about that moment felt off. Out of instinct, I glanced toward the window. That's when I saw him. A man, standing perfectly still across the street. He was tall, very tall, and wearing a gray hoodie soaked from the rain. He wasn't moving, not even a twitch. Just standing beneath the flickering glow of a broken streetlight. I couldn't see his face. His head was angled slightly down, shadowed by the hood. But I felt it. He was looking straight at me. I blinked, leaned forward, and just like that, he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just an empty street and the whisper of rain. I sat back in my chair, heart racing but trying to stay logical. Maybe it was just a neighbor. Maybe someone passing through. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Have you forgotten? I stared at the screen, confused. My first thought was that it was a prank, probably one of my gaming friends messing with me. So I asked in the chat, "All right, who's texting me from a burner?" But all I got were confused replies. None of them had any idea what I was talking about. 30 seconds later, another message. I know you didn't. That one hit differently. The kind of message that doesn't feel like a joke, that makes your stomach twist. I didn't respond. Instead, I got up, walked to the front window and peered out into the rainy street. No one. But I couldn't shake that crawling feeling. You know, the one like something's just behind you watching. At around midnight, I finally closed my laptop and got ready for bed. The storm was heavier now, wind slapping rain against the windows in rhythmic waves. I brushed my teeth, double-checked the locks, and just as I turned to go up the stairs, knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate knocks at the front door. I froze. The hallway light buzzed faintly above me. The room behind the door was shrouded in shadows. I tiptoed to the peephole, but no one was there. I stood silent, holding my breath. Then, a flash of lightning. And for just half a second I saw him again, not at the door, but at the window beside it. His hand pressed flat against the glass, his face now visible. That same gray hood, but now I saw the eyes wide, bloodshot and unblinking. And a grin. A terrifying, inhuman grin stretched far too wide, like his skin didn't quite fit his face. Then, darkness. By the time I turned on the porch light, he was gone. I called the cops, of course. They came, searched the yard, took down a report. Told me it was probably a drifter, maybe someone high. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came the next morning. When I went to the kitchen to make coffee, something caught my eye on the back window. Taped from the inside was a note. A small, rain-smudged piece of paper written in frantic scrawl. "Have you forgotten?" I froze. I know I locked that back door. I lock it every night. I even checked twice that night, once before bed, once after the knocks. So how did he get in? There were no broken windows, no signs of forced entry. But he had been inside long enough to tape that note, and maybe longer. I didn't sleep for 3 days. What haunts me now? It's been almost a year. I moved apartments, changed my number, even changed cities. And still, sometimes I get a message. No number, no name. Have you forgotten? I don't know who he is. I don't know what he thinks I remember or what he thinks I owe. All I know is that for a few terrifying nights, my sense of safety, my home, was not mine anymore. And I don't think it ever truly will be again. Story 3. Rainy night accident and the haunting stranger. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you hit. It's what follows after. It happened 3 years ago on a stormy Thursday night in late September, the kind of night where the roads look like mirrors and the sky won't stop screaming. I had just gotten off a brutal closing shift at the diner where I worked part-time. It was around 1:30 a.m., and the streets were dead quiet. Just me, my tired old Ford Fusion, and the relentless rain. The storm had come out of nowhere. Sheets of water slammed against my windshield, and the wipers could barely keep up even at full speed. I was driving slowly, maybe 40 in a 55, just trying to stay in my lane and get home. That's when I saw something. A figure, pale white, human-shaped, darted across the road from the trees on the left. I slammed the brakes. Tires screeched, my steering wheel jerked, and the car hydroplaned straight off the road, smashing into a tree with a sickening crunch of metal and glass. The airbag hit me hard. I must have blacked out for a few seconds. When I came to, everything was still. Just the sound of heavy rain drumming on the roof, and a faint buzzing from the cracked radio. I checked myself, bruised but not broken. I looked out through the shattered windshield, expecting to see the figure I hit, maybe an injured person or worse. But the road was empty. I stepped out, limping through the rain, calling out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" No answer. Just the sound of trees swaying in the wind. I told myself maybe it was a deer. Maybe I didn't hit anything after all. Maybe it was a trick of the light or my own exhaustion playing games with me. I got back into the car, started it thankfully, it still ran, and waited for my dad, who I'd already called. He was about 20 minutes away. That's when I saw him. A man soaking wet, standing about 20 feet in front of the car on the edge of the forest. His clothes were white, his head tilted slightly as if confused. and he was staring directly at me. I froze. He didn't move. Just stood there in the rain, blinking slowly like he was waiting for something. I honked. No response. Then, without warning, he started walking, slowly, toward the passenger side window. I reached over and locked the doors. He didn't knock, didn't shout, just placed his hand on the glass and smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It was wide, unnatural, like his face had been stretched or like he didn't know what a smile was supposed to look like. Then he started scratching at the window. Just light, slow, deliberate scratching with his fingernails like he wanted in, but didn't want to rush it. I was frozen in place. I couldn't scream. I couldn't even breathe. Just when I thought he was going to break the glass, a pair of headlights appeared from behind my dad's truck. The man didn't flinch. Instead, he turned, slowly walked toward the tree line, and disappeared into the woods. My dad parked, jumped out with a flashlight, and ran toward me. I tried to explain what just happened, pointing into the trees. And that's when we heard it laughing. A horrible, ragged, gasping laugh coming from somewhere in the forest. My dad charged in with the flashlight and caught sight of the man crouching near a tree, soaking wet, laughing and staring straight at us. Dad tackled him. They wrestled in the mud, and for a moment, I thought it was over. But even as my dad punched him, the man kept laughing. Even when blood poured from his nose and mouth, he laughed. When the cops arrived 15 minutes later, he was still giggling like it was all a joke. They cuffed him and dragged him away. I'll never forget how he looked at me one last time, head turned backward, eyes wide, mouth still smiling. His name was Marcus Green. Turns out he had a long history of mental illness and was a frequent escapee from a psychiatric facility about 20 miles away. That night he'd gone missing. He was never supposed to be on that road. And yet, he was. I didn't attend the trial. I couldn't. Just seeing his face again on the news and articles was enough to bring the fear back. But it didn't end there. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, wet and slightly torn. Scrawled across it in shaky red ink, "You smiled first." What keeps me awake now? I've moved since then. Changed my number. Switched cars. But sometimes on rainy nights, I still feel like someone's watching from the edge of the trees. And I wonder, did I really see him first? Or did he choose me? Long before that night. 3 rainy nights. 3 lives forever changed. And one truth that won't leave you once you know it. You're never truly alone when the rain begins to fall. Not on the road. Not in your house. Not even in your own backyard. Because the figures that stand beneath the trees, the ones who leave notes taped to your windows, the ones who smile too wide and don't blink, they don't come to steal. They don't come to rob. They come for you. To watch. To wait. To leave just enough behind so you'll never forget their face. So the next time you see a flash of lightning and catch a glimpse of someone in the corner of your vision, don't convince yourself it was nothing. Don't turn away too quickly, because what you ignore tonight might be waiting for you again tomorrow. If these stories gave you chills, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell, because next time, we go even deeper into the dark. And if you've ever experienced something during a storm, a knock, a face, a message that still haunts you, leave it in the comments. Your story might just be the next one we tell. Stay dry, stay alert, and never trust a face in the rain.